What's good, YouTube? I am currently on that Game Boy Advance arc. I have been binging Game Boy Advance games. Thus, this binge has took me to playing Tomb Raider: The Prophecy. Never heard of this game as a kid, never played it. However, now that I have played it, I think this game is certified heat. And when I say heat, I mean something is really good. Yet, this game has a mid score when it comes to critics back in the day. It's sitting at like a 66%, making it mid. However, I really don't agree with that whatsoever, especially viewing this game as a Game Boy Advance game. This game is like that. Furthermore, I think this game does a good job at capturing the essence of classic Tomb Raider and porting it over to handhelds. Even more, I think Tomb Raider: The Prophecy improves on certain gameplay aspects that the classic Tomb Raider games fall short on. Thus, let's get into it like an adult actor collabing with an OnlyFans actress. Tomb Raider: The Prophecy captures a lot of the essence that make classic Tomb Raider, even down to the point where they have Lara's classic walk animation. But unlike classic Tomb Raider, which I criticize for having floaty, clunky, sluggish movement with input delay, this game does not have any of that. Your movement and your inputs, sprinting into a jump feels really good. Like out of any Game Boy Advance game I've ever played, it feels the cleanest in this game. Even more, since we now have responsive controls, there are now way more combat implications in the game. Likewise, there's way more depth into the combat. Unlike classic Tomb Raider, where you can just jump to the left and jump to the right, avoid some stuff while you're being all floaty in the air and just keep shooting. The only thing that would put you at risk in the classic games would be the cheap-ass bosses with the one-hit kill moves. However, in this game, yo ass better be ready to fight. Moreover, combat is now engaging. Many enemies have a shield to block your shots. Therefore, it teaches the player timing, which is to attack after the enemy attacks while their guard is down. Additionally, as the cultist enemies you fight can spawn out of nowhere and the combat is actually fast paced. On some of the engagements you have in this game, there's times where the combat actually starts to resemble a shmup game, which is short for shoot 'em up. Even more, the combat will really make you master spacing, which in this game you usually try to maintain a distance where you can react to projectile attacks and physical attack by dodging. Which takes me to my next point, which is some of the encounters you face in this game put so much pressure on you to the point where it's hard to maintain space and it's hard to find your timings to attack because there's different enemies around you. Some of them move faster than you do. The rogue cultist enemies have different type of attacks. Some of their attacks are very damaging. They can also revive certain enemies. You are paying attention to multiple things at once. Not gonna lie, on some of these encounters, I was like, I am getting pieced up. And besides all that, I remember after one encounter that was so fun and engaging, I'm like, this is what the fuck I'm talking about. It was so fun and engaging. This game is truly a GBA hidden gem. This is a very high energy game like Tomb Raider Legend. Even when you fall and die, the death animation has a lot of energy and effort put into it. Even the death scream has a lot of energy to it. The music that they give to you makes you want to instantly reboot the level and lock in and get it going. Lara's dialogue is even full of energy and charisma. While being a very high energy game, the game does know how to pace itself, and it paces itself with platforming and puzzles. Furthermore, the puzzles in this game revolve around hitting switches and opening specific doors, hitting switches and going to the next location under the timer, and hitting switches in a certain order. In addition to puzzles, there are also riddle-like puzzles where you have to put certain objects in a certain order. The puzzles in this game never really tripped me out. They never took long to figure out, really no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Never feels like the game's dragging on by trying to make you figure out a puzzle that's taking forever to figure out. There's only one example of me getting tripped out on a puzzle, and that was when you first get these statues and you're figuring out what they do. Even more, as you progress in the game, the levels become way more complicated with a whole bunch of halls and corridors. which makes you start using your brain memory juices. As the game went on, I found myself looking over the walls into the next room to see what was inside of it and where I need to be going to get inside of that room, and just to get a sense of direction. So in short, I will say the puzzles kind of feel like Tomb Raider Light. And I do think this game is geared towards a newer audience, not the existing, and this is a damn good entry Tomb Raider game to play. On the other hand, there are moments where you have to pay attention to ledge textures to figure out where you can platform to, as there's a few instances where they try to hide ledge textures from you, giving you that classic Tomb Raider feel. Heads up, plot spoilers. Furthermore, Tomb Raider The Prophecy follows the simple plot of Lara discovering the Tome of Ezekiel and finding out there's a prophecy where 3 magical stones will bring about the destruction of the world. Therefore, Lara pokes her nose into the situation and ends up discovering a secret society that has robed enemies that gatekeep the stones and that look awfully similar to the Mortal Kombat Shadow Priest enemies out there gatekeeping the portals when people are trying to visit different realms and shit. Fuck wrong with them niggas. Furthermore, Lara foils their plans as expected, and I will say this group of secret society is actually very intriguing, and they second the secret society that Lara goes against in AOD. Nevertheless, Tomb Raider The Prophecy looks great in comparison to its younger sibling in Game Boy Advance games, Tomb Raider Legend. I emulated both of these games and I threw them on the TV on full screen, so you might not be able to tell by the video, but if you play both of these games yourself, you'll see the difference. Furthermore, Tomb Raider The Prophecy actually has Lara shuffling animation while she's fighting, which didn't appear on consoles until Angel of Darkness, which did not come out until June 20th, 2003, while Tomb Raider The Prophecy came out November 12th, 2002. Which explains why the case of the game in the main menu has her AOD outfit. However, you do not wear that outfit in the game, or you can't even unlock it. Furthermore, this game takes place in Sweden, Cambodia, Italy, and Romania. Sweden seemed very reminiscent of Peru mountains from Tomb Raider 1 or Anniversary, while Cambodia shares the exact same textures as the India levels from Tomb Raider 3 and having similar textures to the Cambodia levels from Tomb Raider 4. But of course, Italy and Romania will jab your brain and give you a dose of nostalgia, as those two locations will definitely remind you of St. Francis Foley in Greece from Tomb Raider 1 or Anniversary. All these locations look great, and there's plenty of times where you'll actually appreciate the architecture, capturing the location's cultural symbolism, while also looking familiar but providing a new experience, as the game is now on this top-down point of view. Moreover, Tomb Raider The Prophecy definitely does that Tomb Raider thing, where the atmosphere and ambiance is definitely felt. Let's take a listen. Goddamn, I almost have to turn around listening to that shit. Although Tomb Raider The Prophecy has many cultivating traits, there are a few things that the game does fall short on that I thought I'd mention. First being the game's level save system. This game has a password system. When you type in that password to start that level that you are currently at over again, you will lose all your pickups and ammo and only start off with the default amount of health packs and ammo. Typically, the game will give you enough ammo and health packs to get through the rest of the game. However, some of these sections might be hard if you suck. I don't know, you might drain through all your resources. It is worth mentioning that I did emulate this game, so I relied on save states. Also, it is to note that when you die, you have to redo that whole level. Thank God for save states, because I got content to make. I gotta get a move on here. Thus, another issue I have with this game is the lock-on system. Sometimes you're fighting a whole bunch of enemies. The person that you want to shoot the most, you might not be locked on to them. Changing your prioritization and tactics. Even more, the sprint stamina doesn't last as long as I want it to last. It's a little bit too short in my opinion. They definitely make it so you can't just zoom all over the level and you have to use it sparingly. Lara definitely needs to hit the treadmill. Furthermore, this game needs actual secrets, whether it be in the form of collectibles, you finding a hidden outfit, a secret weapon, something. Everything you find is a regular pickup, whether it's a health pack, ammo, a key item. The game needs real secrets. There is a couple of rooms I never been in this game, and I guarantee you it's just a regular pickup that once you hit a password to replay the game is going to be going type shit. LOL. Finally, I think the game needs a little bit more puzzle solving elements. Specifically, they need more variation on their puzzle solving elements. Whether it be from you using your grapple hook, you pushing blocks, whatever else they can add. The fact that you go around hitting switches throughout the game over and over makes it a little oversaturated to the point where it gets tedious. Nah, I mean. So in all, this game is definitely on my to play again list. I wish this game had a hard mode or a challenge tower, some shit like that. And I notice there's a lot of people who make those Tomb Raider level editor levels. But for you modders who be making like custom levels, y'all need to take this game's asset and engine and just go ahead and make a sequel to this game. It's so damn good. Add more enemies, add more puzzle elements. I never played a Game Boy Advance game that was in Pseudo 3D and did as well as Tomb Raider The Prophecy did. I remember there was like some frog game that was in like Pseudo 3D that my friend owned. I never played it. But anyways, I know Tomb Raider is in a rough spot, and I think the next game got confirmed canceled. I'm not sure. However, I will say I am not opposed to Tomb Raider getting another spin-off, because some of the Tomb Raider spin-off games are funner than the mainline games, like Tomb Raider Guardian of Light, fun as shit. Tomb Raider and the Temple of Osiris, fun as shit. This game, fun as shit. But anyways, y'all, this video is becoming longer than I want it to be, so as always, vibe out.